Joanna Eberhardt took the stage and gave a speech to the audience. For 5 years now, the largest telecommunications company in the country has been thriving under her leadership. Joanna launched a TV show where men and women determine who is better. The show quickly started gaining popularity and high ratings. The essence of the project is that spouses spend the weekends separately to decide if they want to continue living in marriage. Hank, the first participant of the show, concluded that he didn't need anyone but his beloved wife. But Barbara said that she deserved more. Suddenly, one of the spectators, who turned out to be Hank, loudly stated that this show had ruined his entire life. He pulled out a gun, but fortunately the police reacted instantly. Joanna was not harmed, but on the eve of the incident, Hank had visited his wife and her 4 lovers. Now all 5 are in critical condition in the hospital. This has greatly affected the company's ratings. In addition, all local studios have refused Joanna's programs. As a result, the management decided to fire Joanna. Hearing this, she was so shocked that she could barely respond. Despite everything, Joanna tries not to lose face in front of her former colleagues. Only after getting into the elevator did she give in to her emotions and scream. Due to a nervous breakdown, Joanna ended up in the hospital. Her husband Walter, who held the position of vice president in the company, supports his wife in everything. He even quit his job for her. The couple and their 2 children decided to move to another city to start a new life. They're heading to Stepford, which seems like heaven on earth. All the streets were clean and well maintained, but Joanna clearly wasn't up to that now. The family was greeted by Claire Wellington, welcoming them to the new town. She is a real estate agent and resembles a lady from the 60s. Claire showed the family their new home with an innovative security system and other features. There's even a robot puppy that replaces a real pet. Waking up the next morning, Joanna was surprised to find that the house was in perfect order. Claire invited her for a ride and told about Stepford. This town is over 200 years old. There is no crime, poverty, or rudeness here. Seeing a beautiful building, Joanna asked what it was. Claire explained that it was the Stepford Men's Association. While the husbands are busy, their wives go to a health complex. Claire introduced the new resident of Stepford to the other women. They were all perfect and well-groomed, like a carbon copy. Joanna is puzzled about what is going on here and asks why they are exercising in dresses. But the mere thought of their husbands seeing them without makeup and hairstyles horrifies the women. A ridiculous women's workout began, while Walter arrived at the Stepford Men's Association, where he was greeted by the others. Soon a traditional national holiday took place in the town. Joanna definitely doesn't like it here. All these women are dreadfully boring and clingy. They're perfect housewives, but Joanna is not like that. Suddenly she saw a familiar face in the crowd. It was Bobby Markowitz, a popular writer. Her husband Dave, who seems to be a good-natured joker, is also here. Unlike all these women, Bobby doesn't cater to her husband's whims. Soon Joanna and Bobby noticed Roger Bannister, a popular critic from a major publication, and Jerry Harmon. They are also new here. Claire announced the beginning of their traditional shepherd dances. Joanna felt out of place. These dances turned out to be extremely ridiculous. Suddenly one of the women started acting strangely. At some point, the woman just stopped and fell over. She resembled a doll whose mechanism was broken. Joanna tried to provide the woman with first aid, but Mike intervened, who seems to be the main person here. He ordered Walter to take his woman away and other men to carry Sarah to his Hummer. Joanna doesn't understand what all this means and why nobody calls an ambulance. The music started playing again. It turned out that Mike is Claire's husband. He assured everyone that Sarah was fine. She just overheated in the sun. At home, Joanna shares her fears about this place with her husband. She doesn't understand why everyone in this town obeys Mike and is determined to move. For the first time in his life, Walter stated that he is tired of enduring his wife's temper and intends to file for divorce. Frightened, Joanna asked him to stay, admitting that she was wrong. Perhaps she really should change and finally feel like a woman. Joanna stopped wearing black clothes and now wants to become a good housewife. Bobby and Roger found this idea doubtful, but Joanna, full of enthusiasm, suggested visiting Sarah to see if she is okay after yesterday's incident. The house was not locked. Sounds of passion were coming from the marital bedroom. Apparently, the woman is feeling great. Suddenly Roger noticed a remote control with the inscription Sarah. When he pressed various buttons, Sarah performed corresponding actions. Obviously she is a robot or a doll, but the company did not notice the trick. Bobby's house is in terrible mess. Joanna and Roger certainly didn't expect this. Bobby said that she was busy with her new book, so she had no time to clean up. Joanna is determined to become the perfect Stepford woman. She believes that this will make her happy without medication. Meanwhile, the men are having fun. Walter is thrilled with his new life. For the first time ever, he felt like he was the head of the family. Joanna and Bobby are having tea with the other women. Roger is also here, by the way. Joanna told about the latest book she read. Claire believes it's unbecoming for a woman to read such abstruse literature. Instead, Joanna should pay attention to the book about original Christmas souvenirs. While the women are preparing for Christmas, Walter said that his wife began to change for the better. The other men just laughed at this. Ted Van Sant, who lost $20 to Walter, called out to his wife Charmaine, who seemed perfect. But Walter was shocked when bills came out of the robotized woman's mouth, as if she were a bank terminal. Walter doesn't understand what's happening here. The men started laughing again. Ted turned off his doll. Joanna baked a lot of cupcakes. Bobby and her husband visited them. Dave wishes his wife would care for him in the same way, but Bobby is not willing to sacrifice her interests for her husband. The men were going to a meeting. They have no idea that Bobby and Joanna are spying on them. Bobby is sure something is wrong here. All the women in this town are beauties, and their husbands, on the contrary, are worthless. Suddenly the men heard strange noises. At this time, the women climbed onto the roof. Joanna thinks this is a bad idea because she should be sitting at home baking cupcakes. They infiltrated the house, where there were a huge number of portraits of perfect local families. Hearing footsteps, the women turned off the light and hid. Fortunately, it was only Roger. He let the women go, lying to Mike that there was no one here. Roger asked what was behind the doors. The men went inside. What Roger saw shocked him, but he did not manage to escape. Bobby is worried, as Roger has been missing for 2 days now. Moreover, he doesn't answer the phone calls. His favorite things were lying in the trash next to the house. Another festival was taking place in Stepford. The new candidate for the state senate from Stepford, Roger Bannister, took the stage. Joanna and Bobby immediately realized that this was not their Roger. He was no longer that feminine guy, but a confident, brutal man. The same goes for his beloved Jerry. They were as if replaced. Joanna intends to leave this town, as does Bobby. They both are convinced that this place changes people, and such a life is not for them. Walter obviously did not share his wife's view, but agreed to move and promised that they would do it in the near future. At night, the robot dog woke the woman, bringing her a remote control with the name Joanna on it. She immediately began to search the internet for information about Sarah. Turns out in the past she was a successful independent woman, like other Stepford wives. Having read the last article about a missing terrier champion, Joanna realized she had to run. When her husband entered the room, she lied that she was looking for an apple pie recipe. In the morning when Joanna came to Bobby's house, she saw perfect cleanliness. This was a very bad sign. Bobby has completely changed, becoming a diligent housewife and mother. Before, she never cooked food herself. Bobby has 3 children, but she wants to have 3 more. When the sons left, Joanna began to interrogate her friend about what the men had done to her. But Bobby seemed not to hear her. Now she wants to quit writing and fully devote herself to her family. Running away in fear, Joanna immediately called the director of the children's camp to pick up her son and daughter. But it turned out the husband had done it earlier. Upon returning home, Joanna didn't find any family members. Then she went to the building where men's meetings were held. Joanna saw a family portrait in which she was depicted with her husband and children as a perfect family. Suddenly the men surrounded Joanna. Mike assured that her son and daughter were fine. Walter came out to Joanna. All his life he had been in his wife's shadow. She always earned more than him, was more successful, more educated, and better than him in everything. Walter no longer wants to put up with this. The other men of Stepford also once married successful women and felt humiliated. That's exactly why they decided to improve their wives. Mike introduced a promotional video, dreaming of entering the global market in the future. The video talked about how to turn women into perfect wives using a converter. Several microchips with a special program are implanted into their brains. Joanna doesn't understand why all these men want to see dolls obsessed with cleanliness and appearance in their wives. A doll can confess its love, but it would be a lie. Mike showed Joanna her idealized copy. Now the choice is up to Walter. Suddenly Joanna walked up to her husband and kissed him, trying to prove that she was better than a doll. But Walter had already made his decision. Now Joanna has become the perfect Stepford wife. Another festival was held in town. Mike gave a speech, introducing the new full-fledged residents of Stepford. Walter and Joanna, who seemed like a happy couple, came out to the guests. Mike invited Joanna to dance. At this moment, Walter quietly left the celebration and infiltrated the secret laboratory to deactivate the chips. The reverse conversion began. The women finally regained their true personalities. The men tried to regain control over their wives again, but in vain. Joanna approached Mike, saying that she deserved more. Walter came out and stated that his wife was not a robot and had never been one. That is a real man's act. But the other men revolted, saying that Walter had betrayed everything they believed in. Mike was about to take revenge, but Joanna attacked him. Everyone was shocked when they saw that Mike was actually a robot. He was a Stepford husband. It turned out that this experiment was Claire's idea. All her life, she dreamed of a world where men are masculine and women are feminine. Claire used to be a great scientist in the field of neurosurgery and genetic engineering. Work was the meaning of her life. One day Claire came home and caught Mike with another woman. Claire took their lives and set out to create the perfect husband for herself. Then her project took on even greater proportions. When Claire kissed the robot with the appearance of her husband, she got an electric shock. Claire still dreams of love. 6 months have passed. Joanna became famous, having made a documentary about Stepford. Bobby's book became a bestseller, and Roger is a state representative in the Senate. Joanna is happy with her husband. By the way, the other men stayed in Stepford and swapped roles with their wives.